So let's jump right into it. Just weeks ago, PayPal tried to slide in this $2,500 fine for what they consider misinformation. And that could be interpreted a number of ways. But they faced huge backlash, including from the likes of their ex-CEO, Davis Marcus, and even Elon, and all these other influential people came out and said, this is just too far. Okay, it's one thing if you want to ban them off your platform, okay, which PayPal has done many, many times before. I'm very familiar with PayPal. I've used them for decades now. And, I'll go through some of the stuff that they do. Actually, they listed out. I have it up for you guys. But in addition now, they want to fine you. And it's per case. It's not like one time. If they deemed that you have misspoke or sold something that they didn't like or bought something they didn't like, they could fine you $2,500 per instance. And they have changed that, actually made it worse now. Absolutely way worse now. And they just slid it in again. Before, they claimed that, oh, it was a mistake. Some employee just slid it in our user agreement. Oh, it's a complete mistake. Don't worry about it. Now that a couple weeks have passed, they think that no one's paying attention. They slid it in again, but they now say, well, if you're violating user agreement policy. Okay, so they're trying to say, oh, it's not misinformation. But if you read through it, it's very encompassing, and still, it's basically the same thing. So if you look at the acceptable use policy, which was updated on the 21st, so actually maybe this was already put back in, I don't know. This doesn't even make any sense. This should be updated, maybe they just didn't change this. They want people to think that, oh, this was already in since the 21st. I don't know, September 21st. But here's the updated one, and I'm looking at this, and they say all these things are restricted activities, okay? They put a lot of things in here that sounds legit, but they do say, okay, provide false and inaccurate and misleading information. What is misleading? And who gets to determine? PayPal? What if you sell a t-shirt or a product that's supposed to be funny as a joke? Or maybe it's just not. Maybe you have your own message that you want to sell, and they deem it misleading, $2,500 fine, right? Act in a manner defamatory, trade libelous, and threatening and harassing. Again, let's mark it though. It kind of cut off. And then they go through the usual stuff, right? Now, some of the stuff I understand, like sell counterfeit goods. Okay, so that's a bad thing. Allowing your PayPal account to have negative balance, that's a bad thing, right? Facilitate any virus, Trojan horses, yeah, that's a bad thing. But the thing is, what's most concerning is what's considered false, inaccurate, and misleading information. And why do they get to determine it? Well, I guess they think they get to determine it because they are PayPal. But here's the thing. Like most platforms, if you accept their policy, right, you have to abide by their rules. That's fine. PayPal, however, is not a bank. They do not operate like a bank. This is why I've hated using PayPal for the last 2 decades, because if you had to use eBay, you had to use PayPal. But thank God that's no longer the case. They are 2 separate companies that you can pay directly with credit card on eBay now. But with PayPal, what they could do is, if they think you're doing something that they don't like, what they do is, first of all, lock your account. They will hold your funds in there. So if you are a business and you need those funds to pay for inventory, right, to cover for services, you are screwed. They could lock your funds up to 180 days. And then, even if they ban you, they'll still lock it for 180 days. They won't give it back to you. I know someone that had this happen to them. So if you're a business, you got hundreds of thousands, let's say you're using that money for payroll, for supply, for inventory, you are absolutely effed, okay? But that's not all. Now they could say, well, not only have we banned you and we're locking up your money, we're going to fine you $2,500 per violation of the acceptable use policy, okay? Per violation, not just one time. So if somehow they do this and then they say, okay, you sold 100 items that we think is spreading misinformation, we're not going to fine you $2,500 times 100, and we're just going to take that out of your balance before we give the money back to you. So think about that. You know, I think this has gone absolutely way too far. Way too far. And I'm talking about big businesses or business in general, but even as a consumer, even if you decide to create something, you sell something, maybe someone gave you something that you decide to sell, right? Something $10, $20, $50, $100. You sell it, people will complain about it, PayPal locks it up and fines you $2,500. Who's going to want to go through that? Who's going to want to second guess themselves on everything that they do, right? So absolutely, I don't know. It's just bad. Really bad. So this is the reason why we all need to stop using PayPal. I will be. I hardly use PayPal anymore. If I'm buying something on eBay, directly with credit card, no PayPal whatsoever. I don't want to deal with this, especially now. And if you look into their acceptable use policy, they also talk about activities requiring approval, okay? Which includes investments, which includes high-value items, which includes cryptocurrencies, okay? Now, why this is important, again, if you are not only selling, but if you're buying. Let's say you buy some crypto, and they don't like it. I don't know, the latest meme coin or whatever. They don't like what you're buying. Well, that's considered breaking their acceptable use policy, right? Same thing with investments and high-value items. Most likely, they're not going to be able to determine that. But for crypto, if you're using crypto to buy an NFT, buy an in-game item, buy any crypto, they will be looking at that. And they will be determining whether or not that's something that they like or do not like. Again, so not only are they controlling your money, but they're also controlling how you're spending your money too, or will be. So this is the reason why we need to get off of PayPal. Use something else, preferably Bitcoin or Lightning Network, Strike app, Cash app, something else that is riding on top of Bitcoin's network, right? But the best thing is to just use Bitcoin itself. So it's not controlled by any entity. You're not going to have to worry about a $2,500 fine. You're not going to have to worry about your account being locked up for 180 days. So, yes, get off of PayPal. All right. Now, outside of this horrible news, overall, the market is doing pretty good. That's because GDP actually went up more than expectations. So that's actually pretty good. Dow Jones expected 2.3% growth for Q3, but it went up 2.6%. So GDP is still on the rise. However, though, is that good or bad when it comes to Powell and rate hikes? We'll have to see, because there's many people that think that he may be a little bit dovish next week because of midterm elections and because of external pressures due to softening data. Who knows? But this definitely shows that the economy is still growing. So counterintuitive to him being dovish. So unfortunate is that, but the market is rallying today, except NASDAQ, and that's because Meta is just absolutely getting destroyed minus 23% today, and that could slide further. It's just absolutely horrible for Facebook right now. Also, the ECB did raise their rates by 75 basis points. So now they're up to 1.5%, obviously trailing the U.S. The U.S. wants to get to 4.5% by the end of the year. Right now, it's at 3%. So it's about half of what the U.S. is at. But they did say they will continue to raise rates to try to curb inflation, but not nearly as aggressive. And they're announcing some new terms for European banks. I'm not quite sure what that means, but it could be because they are worried about this bank right here, Credit Suisse, which is now sinking again billions from investors because they're basically out of cash. They just got fined, $300 million by the French authorities. They got fined $500 million by the U.S. authorities. On top of that, their stock has been crashing. On top of that, they lost billions in 2021 from bad investments. So they're actually desperate. They're actually really desperate. So not only are they trying to raise money, but they said they're shedding thousands of jobs. They're cutting thousands of jobs. And focus investment banking towards its rich clients. So if you are a poor client of theirs, don't expect to get any service because they're only going to be catering the rich because they want their money. So Credit Suisse is just looking really bad right now. I don't know if this ECB new terms for European banks could be. Maybe there's new requirements for liquidity or something, right, for reserves. But I think there's a lot of people very worried about Credit Suisse and possibly going under in the near future. All right, what else is there? Well, Twitter. I did mention about Twitter and that ridiculous employee letter to Elon, but shares will be suspended on New York Stock Exchange tomorrow, I believe. So if you do have Twitter stock, I don't even actually know what that means. You just get equivalency of money back. Today may be the last day to be trading Twitter stock. Okay. I actually don't know what happens if you hold stock that gets delisted. I'm assuming they just trade it they just sell it and give you the cash equivalency. All right. But all this talk about getting off of PayPal and getting on Bitcoin, right? Of course, we already have that happening. Many people have been buying Bitcoin, using it, mostly buying, but the exchange balances have been dropping. We're now to the January 2018 level. And it's been dropping pretty fast. And if it keeps going, right, we're just not going to have that much left. 123,000 Bitcoins. My camera's cutting off a little bit. 123,000 Bitcoins bought and removed in October. It's a very smart time to do so while we've been low, right? But that's an enormous amount being taken from 1 month, and the overall supply that's on exchanges is dropping like a rock. So don't let this opportunity pass you by before there's no more. And institutions are definitely still buying. 74% of institutions surveyed by Fidelity. So they're not just surveying mom and pop shops, okay? They're surveying their big clients that they do business with. And 74% of these institutions plan on buying crypto. So think about that. So not only is there not enough Bitcoins to go around for just even the millionaires out in the world, think about when institutions all really jump in and they start buying by the billions, which they started already. But imagine if every single major company out there start buying $100 million to $1 billion to $10 billion worth of Bitcoin. You know, the exchange reserves will drop to basically near zero. And at that point, it'll be nearly impossible for a retail investor to afford one Bitcoin. Everyone will be used to buying sats instead, decimal points, fractional Bitcoin. They won't be able to afford one Bitcoin. So again, time to be stocking up right now. And lastly, speaking of FTX, seems like Sam Bankman-Fried wants to come out their own stablecoin. Guess why? Because they're competing with Binance. Binance's BUSD has been surging because Binance is making a big push. Everything on Binance is a BUSD pair now. They basically got rid of USD pairs. They want to make everything BUSD, and the volume has been surging, so it's working. So SBF is like, we need to come out with their own, right? I don't know if this is good or bad, but FTX, they have big ambitions, and what I do know is vast majority of liquidations is happening on FTX. That can't be a good thing. Like, it's not even close. Yesterday I checked. It was like 86% of all liquidations on FTX alone. 86%. Imagine, not only is FTX collecting all the fees, but imagine if he was counter trading and he was collecting all that money. The billions that was lost by the shorts goes to the longs. Maybe he's the long, and that's how he's getting so much damn money. I don't know. Something suspicious about that whole thing. Anyways, that's about it. Overall, crypto market cap still above 1 trillion, so that's pretty good. Bitcoin's at 20,600. That's pretty good. Basically same level as yesterday. Bitcoin getting steady. Maybe looking like it wants to consolidate a little bit before the next move upwards.